The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up tonight, he's a prolific businessman, one who is widely known by his first name, a name synonymous with success. Being a serial entrepreneur and the man behind the name lies a heart even bigger than his success combined, giving back millions of dollars annually, helping others start their own businesses, feeding thousands through his highly anticipated feeding programs, and putting smiles on the faces of thousands of families at Christmas time. Sebastian has achieved the Bohemian dream, and tonight he's here for us to get to know him a little bit better, get a snapshot into his life success and what motivates him to do more and not only see himself, but the Bahamian people succeeding. Good evening, I'm Shanique Miller, and it's good to have you all join us. Also, good evening to you, Sebas. Thank you very much for joining us here on tonight's show.
Good evening, Shanique, and thanks for having you.
Now, of
and
course,
I want to apologize first and foremost. I know you've been
yes.
trying to get me on this show for quite some time.
It's been a while, y'all. It's been
but
years.
I'm happy to be here now.
Yes, and I'm happy that you're here. It's good to get to know you. Of course, I have followed you, been inspired by you so many times. I watch you from a distance on social media. I love the nuggets you give, and that's the thing. Maybe we could start there for a second. You are not at all selfish. You don't gatekeep. You know, that's kind of the killer buzzwords now. You don't gatekeep about what it takes to make you who you are and what you've become in this country and even in other nations where you have so much going on. What makes you so not selfish to want to keep success for yourself?
Well, that's how I was raised. I grew up in Pinewood Gardens, so for me, a pool was when it rained and it flooded. So very much humble beginnings, single mother, single family home, grew up with my mother. My father was always in my life, but watching them looking to try and get the Bohemian dream of their own, watching them have side hustles. I was exposed to that at a very, very young age. And despite, I always got what I needed, even though they didn't have it to give to me all the time. And the sacrifice from them is what I absorbed along the way. And as I grew up as an older guy, I just knew that, I had to carry on and help as much people as I can, because I believe that when you're given resources, you're not given those resources just for yourself and for the comfort of your friends and families or whatever. You're given those resources to impact the lives of others. And, I try to do that every step of the way.
I think that's what you've done. We're going to get into just what you have been able to do over the years. And you've done it, again, like I said, unselfishly. I mean, the things that you've put in place that now become annual staples and that people anticipate and look forward to. Let's just talk about where it all started, though. I've heard you tell your story. I've heard people tell your story. Oh, he started selling phone cards on the side of the road. Oh, he this, he that. And then he took it to another level and he made it something even bigger. Where did this ambition start?
It started at age 7. My father was the fifth kid of 9, and for whatever reason he chose me, and I was helping him every Saturday at his steak business in Lincoln Boulevard and Gordo Avenue. So quickly I was doing that at 7. At the age of 15, I had learned to build computers, and I learned to build computers at the age of 15. Mm-hmm. And I was able to use that knowledge and that expertise, sell those computers to some of my teachers.
So at 15, you started building and selling computers. You were able to be the creator, the curative now, as we would call it, in this wonderful creative space. And then when it was the salesman?
Yeah, absolutely. So I learned to build computers from British American in their computer room. I used to wander in there as a young boy, and the IT guys and they taught me how to build and assemble computers. So I caught on to that. I was always had an obsession, a curiosity, and a love for technology. So when I went off to college in to 1998, at the age of I was 18 years old. That didn't last very long, unfortunately, because my love for technology got the best of that. I got into satellite installations and services, and then later on I got into the phone cards and the selling of cell phones. Came back home, opened up electronic doctors at the age of 19. And then I got into real estate, actually, at the age of 23. I wanted to help the university at the time with student housing. So I came up with this brilliant idea.
University of Bahamas.
Bahamas, yeah. I saw a deficit in student housing. So I rode around in that whole university area looking for vacant land, found one right on Warren Street next to Living Waters. And at 23, I would have built my first 20 units that I had designated to student housing.
Like, this is obviously a natural gift. Everybody isn't born with, like, because you walk around, you drive around, you spot where there's a need, and obviously you work to fill that.
That's because I never really possessed a victim mentality. Listen, I understand and I appreciate that, we started as Bahamians many steps behind. And I understand that there are some shortcomings in terms of opportunities that maybe should be afforded to some of us, and we feel disenfranchised. But instead of being a victim, I just weaponize that. Always look for a problem to solve. Always look for where I can impact, infiltrate, capitalize on my discipline, my ingenuity, my attention to detail, and my hard work, and my relentlessness for execution. And I've applied that same principle that I think I inherited at a very young age of my parents, watching them have side incomes, watching them, what I call an economic backup generator. When their primary income might have gotten taken away, they always had a side hustle to go for that. So I saw that side hustle, and I was always looking to, so how can I apply that work ethic, that discipline into more intentional, disruptive, and impactful industries.
So this is amazing when people hear this, and we have heard just bits and pieces, but to hear that, listen, it didn't come easy. Obviously, you worked for what we see play out in front of us on a daily basis. You worked for this. You walked through this.
Yeah, it didn't. Listen, it never came easy. Like I said, as people, we grow up next to our parents. We grow up with catchphrases like "play it safe, save for a rainy day," and that's not strategy. That's survival. So we weren't born poor. Some of us, we were taught to be poor. So instead of while I celebrate my mother and her struggles and what she was able to accomplish to raise me, I also have to make sure I'm duty bound to achieve the things she didn't achieve, and then and even parlay into that, allowing others to achieve the very same thing.
It's really awesome. Now, you've been described as calculating. I guess any and every successful businessman is, right? But you've been described as calculating 10 steps ahead. Are those fair assessments, or do you think they really describe who you are?
Depends on who you're talking to. I've also been described as a thought leader. I've also been described as a visionary, an example to the many who think that there's no hope for them, there's no opportunities for them, and the system is working against them. And I think I represent a tangible evidence that the Bahamian dream is possible. Not often do you see persons from my background, similar to almost the entire country's background, humble beginnings, and to be able to achieve that. So I have the greatest amount of responsibility. Though I'm successful, I also have to pave the way for others to either get nuggets, blueprints, training, education, or just an example to what they know is possible, and show them how they can get closer to it.
In preparation for this evening's interview, someone said, Shanique, he is a visionary of visionaries. He is somebody who is a trailblazer. Do you accept that, or do you say, listen, don't put all that on me right now. I still have so much more to do?
Well, I've also failed before. I have the humility and possess the humility to know that I didn't and I don't know everything. And I think I don't owe a lot of people. People only see the 10%. They don't see the 90% that goes on behind the doors. Like the amazing team that I have built around me from day one. The failures that don't go on social media, are not published in the newspaper. It's just learning over time what not to do, compounding lessons, being a lifelong learner, and having the humility to pivot when faced with adversity, and just keep on going.
Now, I imagine maybe your greatest success, or you became really known and as this major successful businessman that we all know and admire, and however you feel, through the gaming industry. You've also been hit quite hard about that as well. There are people who they just kind of waffle about that because they're saying, listen, you came into this wonderful empire that you've built through the gaming industry, quite controversial an industry it is, and the fact that you've stepped into something that has hurt Bahamians more than help them, taken advantage of vulnerable Bahamians or made others vulnerable. How do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, my success doesn't come from gaming, right? Like I told you previously, at 7 years old, I was selling steaks. At 15 years old, I was building and selling computers. At 19 years old, I had my own electronics store selling a plethora of electronics. At 23 years old, I was already a millionaire with apartments for rents and things. And I'm not saying that to impress you. I'm saying that to impress upon you that hard work, discipline, and my relentless attention to detail and my execution is why I'm the man I am today. All I did with Island Luck was apply my principles, the qualities that I already possessed, to gaming. I'm industry agnostic. Because if you look at my success record, it's not limited to gaming. We have look at Eyewitness News. I mean, we came out 100 years behind the news medias. Why are we number one today? Why is Island Luck number one? Why is Brickell the largest real estate development company?
Well, I want to kind of dissect a lot of what you're doing because people don't know. I mean, you really are the prolific businessman. I didn't just use that word to try to find something to say. You are just incredible to watch and see what you do. I was on, in fact, you mentioned Living Waters. During COVID, you did a Zoom meeting for them, and you told them at that time you had 15 businesses. How many do you have now?
32.
You see this, so this is so amazing what it is that you continue to do. You don't stop and settle where you are. You are always pushing and going for more. And I think that right there is what Bahamians can actually learn and glean from versus, oh, there's a boss.
But it's not necessarily just about myself. It is. It's showing others what is possible. Like I said, we started arguably 200 years behind everybody else. And it's just a testament to know that if you give persons an opportunity, the sky is the limit where they can find themselves. I always tell people there's three things everyone needs, and when you don't have one, you can use any two. That's knowledge, that's money, and then there's time. If you need money, you can put knowledge and time to work to get money. If you need time, you can put money and knowledge to get time. And a simple hack like that is some of the things I apply to my everyday life.
What role do you think gaming plays really in Bahamian society? Like, what was your vision and is your vision even now that it's evolved for that industry?
Well, I know that there's a lot of different types of conversations I relate to gaming. I'm very comfortable having all of those conversations because the truth is, when I got into the gaming industry, I met gaming here. I didn't invent gaming. I didn't create gamblers. I met that here. What I met was the Wild Wild West. I met an industry that was just all over the place. There was no safeguards. There was no transparency. There was a bookie on this corner, a bookie on that corner. What I also met in place is what I dubbed as economic discrimination. I met a country that had land-based casinos that were only allowed to be owned by foreigners and only allowed to be accessed and patronized by foreigners. That in the surface is just blatant discrimination, economically and access. So instead of sitting on my laurels, what I did was from the time I entered the gaming industry, I lobbied and tried to champion fairness from an economic discrimination perspective. Subsequent to that, we were able to get the Gaming Act 2020-14 enacted. Now, this is a 50-year-old industry. And in 5 years, with my leadership of the industry, we had a regulated industry that employs over 3,000 Bahamians annually, that has contributed over $500 million in tax revenue back to the Bahamian economy, and now have regulatory safeguards that did not exist before to protect players that may find themselves in vulnerable situations. I have the data. Right? Is gambling a vice that affects people? Absolutely it is. so is alcohol, so is cigarettes, so is overworking, overeating. But it's not to find a decoy to say that, because those exist. It's to have a substance conversation instead of a surface conversation. How do we, because there are more people that gamble in moderation than ones that don't.
Yeah.
That's a statistical fact. I have the data. So we should we should educate and teach moderation and responsibility instead of taking this prohibition approach to gaming, because I know people that drink that have a problem with gaming. The hypocrisy in that. But it's neither here or there. Today, we have a well-regulated industry. And when I told you before, we had an industry which was only owned by foreigners. Now you have ordinary Bahamian citizens that are the operators in this industry. And in 2019, many may or may not know, I took that ownership opportunity even further. I established a fund called the Titan Fund. I put shares in Island Luck into the Titan Fund, and 1,065 shareholders, ordinary Bahamian shareholders, own a piece of Island Luck via that fund.
Oh.
That was what you call economic liberation.
You bet right, economic emancipation. Speaking of a very popular term, if you were to bring further regulation, where you talk about the ethics and the ethical aspect of gaming, and where those who are out of control how they can better sort of responsibly game, how would that look in 2025?
Well, we don't have to even go as far as 2025. I can tell you how it looks from inception. So with the regulation wasn't just licensing gaming operators. It came with a lot of stringent requirements from us to have safeguards in terms of people can self-exclude themselves, people can set limits. The gaming board has access to all of our systems, so they can see this transactional data obviously in real time. And anytime we have a list that is centralized. When self-excluded persons put themselves on the list, we're not allowed to open up an account for a person that's on that list. So there's a lot of regulatory safeguards that are already in place. I think the operators and the gaming board, we should do a much better job at educating not just these safeguards that are in place, but also just pushing a lot more stuff. We also sponsor on an annualized basis the Sandilands symposium, and that covers alcohol, gaming, all that kind of stuff. Right. So we try to be responsible. We're not in the business of taking advantage of the vulnerable.
So people don't see this part of gaming. People don't see the fact that leaders and owners like you decide to say, listen, yeah, you can game, but this is available for you when you feel yourself slipping out of control. Yeah,
but going back to the taking advantage of the poor, and I talk about having surface conversations and substance conversations. So let's move it to a substance conversation. A better question is, how did they become poor? Is it because we've failed in education? Is it because we've failed in health? Is it because is it because after 52 years of independence under black leadership, the divide between the haves and the have-nots have widened?
It has.
Gaming did not cause that. So we need to have a holistic conversation about what the true narrative and issue is as it relates to the poor.
The mindset of the Bahamian people, I do it all the time. I try to squeeze it in as best as I can in certain shows, because you're absolutely right. And like you started from where you started with your parents. Yeah. So many times we victimize ourselves and make ourselves victims when we can also pick up. And so we become vulnerable and go and gamble and blame it on that.
So while this is not an excuse, but we've been the punching bag for vices, if you want to call it that, no matter which way. But we live in a democratic society. I respect all views of persons that have moral issues and things against gaming or think it's a bad thing. I accept that 100%. But I also accept the rights of the person that controls himself, wants the game in moderation, and deserves to be able to have entertainment if they choose to. I accept both sides of the argument. So how do we now? It's a regulated industry. It has been for over a decade now. How do we now move this to a substance conversation? Because with the narrative that we're talking about of of gaming, and that's a 10-year-old conversation. So this is a mature industry, and we need to huddle around a table and how we can make it safer for behemoths, because it exists, and it's always existed. Like I said before my time, I met it here, I'm probably going to leave it here. But what I want to leave behind is an industry that is robust, that is dependable source of tax revenue, that safeguards people that can fall into harm's way, and can also protect the rights of persons that want to game in moderation.
Well, how about the idea of, and this has been thrown around, but it's been discarded in the Bahamas, but we see it play out in the United States with their lottery. How about then using some of that wonderful tax that's returned to the national treasury for education and for the rest of it, and for in physical infrastructure and all that stuff? That's where gaming really is very beneficial.
I do agree. And since inception, the funds have went to the consolidated fund, and I think what I think I'm going to try and lead as an industry is to carve out some of those funds so they can directly go to tangible benefits such as sports and culture, education, and healthcare specifically. Now, indirectly, that's where they go, because when it goes to the consolidated fund, it's the consolidated fund that's funding all of these things anyway. But I think we don't get to draw a dotted line to the outcome of the tax revenue because it goes into the consolidated funds and comes out, and we can do a much better job at telling the story. Like you mentioned, places like Florida, they do a good job. You drive past a billboard, and it's $1 billion donated to education, because there's a straight line between the money and the outcome.
Yes,
so we must be a better job at telling our story.
Yeah. Now, people in your industry, you all are hugely successful, and I mean gaming. We're going to move on shortly, but are you all above board? Are above accountability? That is a widely held perception that moguls, and that's how you all are referred to now, that moguls like you all operate above accountability. You don't really have to answer to nobody. You do what you want to do. Are there things about your operations that the public doesn't understand or even refuses to accept?
Well, I don't know what circles you're in that you hear all that, because I don't hear that in the circles that I am, that we operate above board. Are we very intentional and aggressive in the industries that we're in? We have to be. Like I said, we started 200 years behind, and we have to be calculated. We have to be creative, and we have to be relentlessly focused and disciplined of execution. If the narrative that you speak of had any truth to it, the evidence of that would have already emerged over time. I mean, what do you talk about above what? I mean, I'm in regulated industries. I have no regulatory infraction. I'm in real estate industries. I built with intention and built with purpose. And at the end of the day, I'm popular, and I'm very intentional of what we do. But by all means, I don't think that I operate above anything.
Thank you very much. Listen, we are just getting started this evening. This is a special edition and really historic conversation, quite frankly, an in-depth interview with Sebastian, my boss. You hear that? You hear the questions I'm putting to him? You all hang with me, okay? We are here on Beyond the Headlines. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more of Sebastian right after this break. Stay close.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now City of Hope, creating one of the leading cancer care and research networks from coast to coast, providing more of what you need. More locations means more care closer to home. More specialists means more expertise. More research means more breakthroughs. More advancements means more treatment options. And more options means more hope. Call now to get more of the care you need.
Happy Independence Bahamas! Let's celebrate 50 plus together with a unique Janae's Uniform Center Independence print, dry fit polo or t-shirts, ribbons and pole bows in black, gold, and aquamarine. Janae's special family package includes buy 2 adults and 3 children Independence polos or t-shirts and get 15% off. Outfit your staff for a special Independence dress of week or day with a different design. For more than 30 pieces of Janae's Independence polos or t-shirts, get up to 25% discount. Janae's Uniform Center Chesapeake Road Independence Selections. Choose your favorite and celebrate 50 plus Restrictions apply.
At the Water and Sewage Corporation, safety and convenience are our top priorities. However, our meter readers face challenges that can make their job difficult. Locked gates to guard dogs sometimes leads to missed readings and estimated bills, which can be frustrating for you and us. That's why we're upgrading to digital meters. They bring safety, accuracy, and convenience to homes across the Bahamas. We can streamline data collection, reduce on-site visits, and provide more accurate bills with no more estimates. Digital meters also help detect leaks early, saving you from costly bills and reducing water waste. Soon, a user-friendly app will let you track your water usage, manage bills, and stay informed, all at your fingertips. Over the next year, we're rolling out digital meters nationwide, transforming how we serve you with a safer and cost-efficient water supply. To learn about our digital meters, visit our website or call us today. And don't forget to update your information at any of our locations.
Welcome to Blissful Escapes, where luxury meets affordability. Whether you're seeking relief from aches and pains or simply looking to indulge in some well-deserved pampering, relax and detox in our infrared sauna. Enjoy a soothing Swedish massage or an invigorating exfoliating body scrub. We also provide advanced facial treatments using cutting-edge technology, including hydrofacial, microneedling, and microcurrent therapies, located at the shops of Cable Beach Plaza.
Keisha, one thing with you ain't never have no money. I just sent Miko inside Wendy's just now because Wendy's having their summer promo. Just hot cash, girl. Yes, hot cash. But anyway, we did this one right now. We trying to win this $10,000. And even if you ain't win the $10,000, you can win $2,500 every week. Even if you don't get no ride, Keisha. Anyway, Keisha, I go on Miko Reach. Bye. All you gotta do is upgrade any combo between a 1 to 12 to medium or large. And they get this new spicy chicken club sandwich. But I just sent Miko inside there for from June 24th to August 1st. You ain't getting the Wendy's, that's on you. But don't ask me for no money when I win.
I feel good when you're wrapped up in my arms, dancing to a reggae song. Feel good, feel good. I feel good, cause your perfume isn't loud, and only I can talk about. Feel good, feel good. You feel like velvet rubbing over my skin, and when you're
If you enjoy watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
Welcome back to this special edition of Beyond the Headlines. My guest this evening is Sebastian. He's of course the visionary of this media house and so much more. You heard him talk about the gaming industry and then how he got started. Imagine that. We are really, really intrigued with his story. I love what you do. Welcome back, by the way. I love what you do each year even, and we didn't talk about this, but the fact is you have a wonderful empowerment summit and seminar that you put on each year where you bring any big name anywhere in the world here so that Bahamians can freely come, access it, get as much information and whatever it is they need to do to be inspired and empowered to go and make life happen for them.
Yeah, but I think it goes beyond that. I mean, when we talked about in the early segment about the various businesses that I'm in, you know, I try to always make an income while making a difference. And one of my biggest passions is education. And the reason that is, I realize that as we go from industry to industry to industry, there's a skills deficit throughout those industries. And, you know, one of the things that I've done to try and solve that is not just complain about, you know, can't find any great skilled labor, you know, putting my money where my mouth is. You know, in 2019, we had the most powerful hurricane on record, Dorian, decimated Freeport and parts of Abaco, et cetera. And the University of the Bahamas, which is, you know, one of, something that a program that I'm really dear to me, and I do all I can to help with scholarships and programs in there. That campus was decimated in 2019. And up to 2024, 5 years later, it was still in disrepair. I spent $5 million and invested into the rebuild and reopening of that particular campus. Not because I got the money to do it, because I know the national need for it. I know that as we push policy, we also have to have skilled and trained Bahamians to actually participate in some of these industries that are being created by the policies that we putting in place. We signed heads of agreement after heads of agreement and announced $2 and $3 and $4 and $500 million projects, and we're promised jobs in return. And even if that's enough for us, which is not, I'm a developer. I can tell you there's a skills deficit.
Right.
So wouldn't it be nice that if we can make sure that our policies and our aspiration and for prosperity and our policies and our FDI solicitation in terms of investment into our country is paired with an educational system where persons can be able to go straight into those industries, either as fill those roles, or has businesses that support those businesses. There cannot be a disconnect. There can never be a disconnect. So while I'm so grateful that we have so much economic boom right now, I can tell you there's not enough skilled Bahamian construction workers. So when the guy comes over and lands his jet and promises us 1,000 jobs, that I know we don't have 1,000 skilled people because we're waiting to get a construction job. That just tells me that we need to make sure that our what we want and the jobs we want our Bahamians to have, we're preparing them for them. Whether that's construction, whether that's technology, no matter what the industry, whether that the DARE Act, you know, the cryptocurrency stuff, like where's the educational programs that are preparing us to be participants or owners in these industries? So that's why I made that investment into the university, and they also allowed me to help them build the new curriculum, because it's not what they're teaching us, it's what they're not teaching us that is a part of the problem. And I just want, I'm here to try and help champion stronger linkages between what the global job or domestic job demand is requiring and what the skills in our educational system is teaching.
And many times, I mean, as a front person as you are and so visible, many things we don't know that you stepped in to repair the damage of that campus and sat there for years in disrepair, and that's just amazing. Going back to skill set and having us retool and upskill, because it's necessary. The Bahamas is changing. It's blossoming into something that's different than maybe 20 years ago when people just went for a job. No, so much more is required, even on the construction job. You also are a proponent, again, of continued learning. You often put on AI. I remember you did this a few times, AI seminars, so that people can go and understand how they can take advantage of, use to our advantage, not just go in there and be silly and do foolishness with it, but actually learn it to the point where we can then go to these highly skilled jobs than what's required in today's marketplace and fill some of those positions.
Absolutely, and take it a step further. Education, like I said, is one of the things I invest heavily in. And dating back, we talk about the apartments that I built and all that, but everything that I do, I try to make an income while making a difference. And this isn't something that just happened. This predates everything. Even gaming I was 29 years old. Yeah. Prior to Island Luck being established in 2019, I took on the mantle of making the West affordable for Bahamians. Young professionals found themselves priced out of affordable living in areas that they desired. I did Hampton Ridge, which is to Super Value out West Corner. I built next to it, Veneto, which is targeting the same demographic. Next to that, in the same corner, Vizcaya. And then we quantum leap and did the Venetian West. And the Venetian West is home to 240 ordinary Bahamians that would have never, ever been able to live amongst the muckamucks, like I call it, out west.
But it's
for
true.
the price points that they have.
Yeah, the West, we often joke right here on the show, the West is a different country. Yeah. And it does seem to be off limit, just seems to be off limit. Again, you went, that we're getting into other aspects now of who Sebastian is. You went and created wonderful upscale, high-end living spaces affordable for Bahamians to have access to. Why do you think it's so important for mothers to be able to have their kids living, their families to be living there in those spaces and to experience that part of living in the Bahamas?
I think it's very important. I think it's the Bahamian dream. No matter where you find yourself in success, I think everybody has aspirations to get to the next step or even skip a step and get up top. We all want to be able to simply be able to be safe. We want to be able to provide for ourselves and our loved ones. We want to have a good quality life while we're here on this earth. And like I said earlier, I know I'm a part of God's plan, period. I know that for a fact. And He did not give me this opportunity of influence and a couple dollars to just enjoy myself. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about programs like OWN, I seen something yesterday because, we don't say everything that we do. OWN was established in 2015. So the OWN talks and the program and the grant funding, all that, this is 10 years old. We were building condos for young professionals from 2006 was when we started the Balmoral. 2006.
And so many, I want to tell you this, even people that I know are so grateful to you for the grants and the grant funding that is sort of it comes from OWN, it mushrooms from OWN, yeah. And that they've been able to realize their dreams, fund their businesses, get a better footing to be able to go forward and do business and still in business today.
Yeah, so I have a choice. I could, complain about a system, or I can actually put my ingenuity, my know-how, my execution skills to work and drive impact.
You mentioned that God has a plan for you. We'll get to your faith. Yes. You attend church, yes? You're a member of a church.
Yeah,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about your faith and all the rest of that, because I want to know about it, But people don't understand. Remember when I said during COVID that you were on Living Waters Zoom call and inspiring people and just talking about, let's say, take advantage of now? This is things that he does, right? But let's just talk about some of those 32 businesses, because there's no way one man. And I know you have people around you because you believe in empowering those around you as well. But for you to be such a visionary and seeing things and seeing a need and seeing what's there, because again, Warren Buffett says, you become wealthy when you fulfill a need. You are kind of almost the Bahamas' Warren Buffett in terms of at 21 it is, 23, driving around and saying, wait a minute, where these COB at the time students have to live, and you went and created a living space. I mean, just talk about some of the stuff that you've done and are doing that is so unique and we have no idea about.
Well, a lot of it is obviously in developing affordable living for the young professionals. We've recently got into the automotive space, and Henry Ford had a vision many years ago why he started Ford to bring affordability to automobiles, because it had been a luxury for the select few, and he achieved that mission when he did Ford Motors, which he was targeting ordinary and everyday citizens. Somehow in the Bahamas, car ownership became a luxury again. And again, keeping with my philosophy, part of my business principles, making an income while making a difference. We were able to bring back affordability to new car sales as well. Energy, obviously we're also in the energy space, got into solar to realizing that cost of electricity is also high, and being able to lease solar systems, it's a very high capital cost, mm-hmm. Lease solar systems to persons, businesses, or anyone that don't have the capital cost, they can lease the system and enjoy the benefits of clean energy and affordable energy. I mean, the list goes on, and the things that we do, and with education, as we have the OWN program, the IL Cares giving. IL Cares is just active on all cylinders.
It really touches sort of every aspect of Bahamian life. I mean, many times I'm happy to interview many of the front persons for IL Cares, whichever project it is that they're tapping into at the time. And so that's another thing that you do in order to just help those who are less fortunate and are hurting, whether they be organizations, sometimes individuals.
Yeah, and then obviously we're in the logistics space. That's hard work, but have a really good team around that. So really powering the logistics for the region with Aeropost. So there's just a lot to be done, never a dull moment, but I owe it to just building an extraordinary team around myself to execute all of these visions. And I think anywhere I can impact, even at a national level, there's so much to do, and it always starts with education. So I always stay very close to if the aspirations for prosperity as a country has to be backed with an educational system that supports it.
As we continue to talk about your wealth and your power, the perception of it all, the public perception of it all, I would like to ask you this question. Do you believe that your success, your massive wealth, has made you a target?
I don't know I wouldn't say if it made me a target, but I definitely, a quiet target for sure. Doors were never open for me. Nobody ever told me yes right away. And I think over the years, a lot of the early kind of jealousy or, who does he think he is or where is he coming from is translated into somewhat of a respect. They don't like me, but a lot of them will respect me today. And about being a target...
And you have worked hard for that respect, haven't you? I imagine you were, like before, shunned.
Well, I focus on the work. I focus on the purpose. If I do it for other people, I've already failed from the start. Mm-hmm. So let's put that there. But it's about the targeting. I know that the disruption of the status quo makes some persons uncomfortable. But the truth of the matter is, why not? Why not us?
Why not?
It's about time. And I think that being an example for what is possible is what I think my role and my duty is as a successful Bahamian. Yes, that person can. Yes, that boy that graduated from Government High last June, yes, he can be the next Sebastian. Yes, that child that goes to C.W. Sawyer that has aspirations one day to become a leader, yes, she can.
By the way, you were publicly educated, public schools throughout?
No, I went to Xavier's, and then went to SAC. SAC and I had a divorce midway through our relationship. And then I moved on to Bahamas Academy and graduated at Bahamas Academy. And
then you went to college, but of course you started being so into business, you were like, let me come back and make some things happen.
Yeah, college and I had a bad relationship as well.
A little hiccup right there as well. Of course, now, I have my questions because I really prepared for this. My first time interviewing Sebastian after being here for quite some time now. So there are things I wrote down and I want to make sure I'm saying it as I wrote it and thought about it. So there's talk of monopolies, dominance, and quiet power. Are you worried about that perception, especially as you move into industries tied to public trust?
I don't worry about that perception anyway, because everything that I'm involved in, that it's big in a big way. I started when my first time when I wanted to diversify the wealth and income opportunities for Bahamians, when I wanted to start doing developments and then start a fund and let people invest alongside me so that they could enjoy some of the success that I was working on. That philosophy, I think I started that back in 2015 was when I started to try and do that. I went to multiple of the different investment houses. I won't call any of the names. And it was just blocked. So I applied for my own license and opened up Investar, where we have a fund administration license and able to do income funds, fixed income funds, balance funds. And every building that I have, whether it's commercial buildings or private residential or mini storage or whatever it is, they're all as a part of the fund. And those same 1,065 investors that have a piece of Island Luck also have a piece of those. Wow. So I'm not worried about the narrative of monopoly because they're not like me. If you say, I didn't close the door behind me when I got past the baton of opportunity. I got receipts. This has been going on for years and years and years. This ain't something that just spring up out of nowhere. The Titan Fund has been established in 2019. It's 2025. It's almost 6 years old. And every Bahamian investor in there has had double-digit return on their money, totaling up to over 55% returns on their investment over the time the fund was established. So while some may feel like I have too much or is this a monopoly or whatever? Like, they must have not been living in the Bahamas for the last 52 years because we've met monopolies in every single industry and fabric of societies. And that's okay, so I don't watch my own money. I have to focus on my work, create opportunities for myself, and then have a vehicle where Bahamians can invest alongside of them.
Now here's something sort of leading into where we're going to go next. Again, we're still going to be talking about faith and church because Sebastian is somebody who goes to church, whether here in the Bahamas or elsewhere, but his faith in God is deeply rooted. He'll talk about that. But do you think you intimidate the political class?
Well, I don't know how you define the political class, but I do think it's uncommon for persons like myself, because you have people. Just because you have money doesn't mean you can build industries and disrupt industries or have success. Some people are rich and can only buy things for themselves. I do think people find my accomplishments and my success and my ability to impact industries a little bit intimidating because nobody's used to having fair, honest, head-on competition. The duopolies and the monopolies have been enjoyed from the merchant elites for forever. But again, listen, they built a successful business and did it like that. I mean, power to them. But my philosophy is I don't hate anyone or envy anyone for their success. My whole philosophy is just make sure that the pathway to success is uninterrupted and unblocked for others to also try to achieve their own version of success.
I agree. Do you have political aspirations?
Well, I can say it is. I mean, if you look at my history, I've been in politics, I guess, as an ambassador from 2021. And so serving my country in any way I can, whether privately or publicly, is never going to be off the table. And while I haven't decided, 100% I'm going to run in the next election, it's definitely not on the table. If I have the opportunity to make an impact, to change the country, to really contribute to transformation and to apply my business acumen and ability to execute to public office, if that's where the Lord wants to send me, I'll be open to it. But today I have to make that decision because for me, I don't see that as the next step up for my life, right? I've always been in a position of personal power where I had the freedom to do what I want, get what I want, build what I want, work hard to actually achieve that. So for me, it would be an extraordinary sacrifice to put my dreams and aspirations on hold to serve in public office. And while I don't have an issue with that, it's just not an easy, automatic decision that I have to make. I have family that I need to be able to consult with, that they need to be okay and committed to that type of public life exposure. And I have to make sure that I'm aligned with what my calling is in terms of if that's God's plan for me, I can be open to it. But if it isn't, I'm okay with that as well.
Have you been approached? Have there been conversations, discussions at this point?
There's been a lot of speculation. Some of the speculation exceeds what's been communicated to me. I've definitely been in conversations with persons, but other than it being in the infancy stage of consideration, it hasn't really gone beyond consideration.
But it's nothing that you're dismissing totally or taking off the table. You're going to just, as you say, consult, pray, and then see what happens.
You don't have to twist my words. I've explicitly said to you that I'm never going to take serving the country off the table. Now, that could mean today, that could mean tomorrow, it could mean 5 years from now, 10 years from now. That's never going to be off the table because I've served my country my entire life.
Yeah.
So whether in a private capacity or public capacity, I see them as one and the same.
Yeah.
So, but I'll let you know. You'll be the first to know.
You'll come back.
Yeah.
That's a deal. We good.
That's a deal. You'll be the first to know.
Let's talk about you, the man behind everything, and what you feel is the foundation of everything that you are, everything that you even continue to do, even the considerations that you're doing, your faith. That's hugely important to you.
Yeah, it is. It is. Listen, I serve the same God that everybody serves. I have the same faith and want what's not just best for myself, but want to live a purposeful, holistic, spiritual life. I have kids too, just like everybody else. You know, I serve one God, and I've seen my both professional, personal, and spiritual growth along my life. And where am I at right now? You know, I don't go to church as much as I would want to, but I have a lot of conversations with God mostly on a daily basis. And He has guided me in so many ways. I've had so many prolific and you know, just mind-blowing experiences in my personal life that I know could only come from an higher power. And when you look at the roadblocks that I've faced, the doors that slammed in my face, the roads that led to nowhere for me, if I can get on the other side of that, it could only be from one place, one reason, one higher purpose, and that's the God we serve above.
Have there been moments when you, because of everything you've done and everything you are and what makes Sebastian who he is, that you've felt spiritually conflicted? Hold that thought, think about it. I'm going to take a quick break. You all don't go anywhere. We are obviously having a good, wonderful conversation, an in-depth look at Sebastian as we talk about his life, his future aspirations, and all the other things that you heard him just address as well. When we come back on Beyond the Headlines, we will continue to speak with Sebastian, so don't go anywhere. We're back right after this.
As we continue to develop the orange economy of the Bahamas and empower our artists and artisans, we as a government intend to show tangible support. We are therefore requesting our Bahamian artists and artisans to submit images of their handmade, authentically made Bahamian products and prices as we move to produce a live digital booklet with Bahamian-made works. With the creation of a live booklet, artisans can always submit new works to be included. It is our intent to use this book as a catalog for the purchase of items by all senior government officials for gifts, display items, and the like. Ministers, permanent secretaries, members of parliament, and ambassadors will be supporting our orange economy by the purchase of items and in sharing this book to the wider global creative community. We are committed to grow and expand the orange economy of the Bahamas.
Win a brand new 2026 GAC MPOW every week for 5 weeks. Every 10 reward points earns you 1 digital entry. The more entries you gain, the better your chances to win. 5 weeks, 5 cars. Will you be one of our lucky winners? Catch the keys today, only at Island Luck. Island Luck reminds you that it's only a game, so game responsibly.
Watching Beyond the Headlines, take advantage of our exclusive offers with 4 15-minute interview segments at $1,200 and 20 30-second TV ads at $2,000. Contact 557-0258 or 557-0259 for more information. Go beyond with Beyond the Headlines.
This segment is brought to you by EV Motors Fleet Sales Division. For 2026 commercial vehicles, call 821-2403 today.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines, a very special edition of Beyond the Headlines. I've been joined all hour by Sebastian. He, of course, is the owner of Eyewitness News, ILTV, and so much more. You all have heard his story of success and how we actually got to where he got for the last hour. Really quite impressive. We're going to get into some national issues, though. I know you want to hear his thoughts on some things that's been trending, some things that have plagued this nation for decades now. Sebas, I want to talk to you about healthcare, the state of public healthcare in the nation. So many families are burdened by it, troubled by it, because, again, the system has been plagued with issues for decades. Your thoughts on where public healthcare stands in the Bahamas?
Well, I think we need to be a little bit more, obviously, intentional about our healthcare efforts. I think it's a right. I think it's a right. We've from cycle to election cycle, we've struggled to really get healthcare where it needs to be, and there's a lot of different ideas. And I don't want to be one of those Monday morning quarterbacks claiming to know it all because I don't. But I have to, as a citizen, a concerned citizen, I have loved ones that find themselves in those institutions, and something's got to give. It's encouraging, extremely encouraging to know that I read the paper the other day that we are building another hospital. We have secured, I think, a loan to build another hospital. Yeah. So that is definitely a step in the right direction. I like to see progress, so I don't want to sit here and just bash it all because I can finally see progress, but there's more that needs to be done. I think that we need to really make sure that when we look at healthcare, we don't try to do it on our own. There's so much examples out there where persons have struggled with a healthcare system that was ailing, and there's a lot of countries that have figured out a way to turn it around. Do research. Find more, buy smarter. We spend a lot of money on supplies. Mm-hmm. Some of that is sourced through all these intermediate companies, both local and abroad. Our buying power is too great for us to be buying everything at the wrong price as well. I think that's just something that we need to address. And, just, again, invest more in the education side of it, because we need to crank out more and more nurses, more and more doctors, more and more healthcare professionals. Mm-hmm. But how do we do that? So our aspiration for better healthcare has to be complemented with a training facility, mm-hmm. a more robust training facility, so that we can churn out the healthcare professionals that we need, because it starts with them.
It does.
The nurses are overworked, underpaid, burnt out. We don't have enough of them. We're bringing in nurses from other parts of the world, which is fine. A lot of countries have done that, but we can do better. But it starts with education primarily.
It absolutely does. It does.
And then also in healthcare, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
We can promote a healthier Bahamas.
So
we're trying to fix the problem when you're done in the ambulance.
And the problem doesn't have to begin with.
So it starts with, making sure that we're educated in our schools. We shouldn't be serving sugary drinks and fried food and all that. We should have a healthy society is going to improve our healthcare, because it's going to reduce the dependency on it if we're a healthy Bahamas.
It wouldn't put such a burden on the healthcare system. You're absolutely right there. I want to ask you about crime. The numbers are down, but still it's troubling to see the again, though, just one crime is too much, one too many. Yeah. We see the homicides. I think there was just one, a foreigner, but one just in Harbour Island yesterday. Just really troubling. The day before, rather. Really, really troubling what's happening, even when we see what's playing out on our streets with gangs and young men and getting caught up in violence and all the rest of it. Your thoughts on how, and there is no one answer, I'm asking you to step in and be Minister of National Security, but just what are your thoughts about where the Bahamas finds itself as it relates to crime?
Yes, and at the end of the day, I'm going to give you the same answer, because it's the root of the problem. If you want to bring crime down, you have to increase opportunity, and how do you increase opportunity? With educating your populace. When I go around from area to area, I grew up in some of these areas, so I'm comfortable going through there. I'm a household name, so I come in contact with some persons on different sides of the criminal divide and all that, and they'll say, my daddy boy, he's tired of this life. They just want something to do. And that's always you could always, beneath all of that, there's always this lack of opportunity, this failure of the system. And if we continue to invest more in particularly in the men, like not everyone, we talk about the national average and all that. That's just only one barometer on how you measure someone. Albert Einstein says if you measure a fish by its ability to climb the tree, he will always think he's an idiot. So these young men are at risk even from in high school. So we need to get them much better with what they're good at. If we gotta stop ring fencing them in that they could be so much more. Yes, he might be horrible in biology and history, but he's a hell of a carpenter.
Yeah.
He might be horrible in these subjects, but he's a really good at technology. So it starts with making sure that we have a type of curriculum that expands enough to capture the imagination and the true skill sets of these young individuals. And if these guys can provide for themselves, if they have opportunities that they can either get jobs or create opportunities for themselves, because not every education leads to a job. It can also lead to a small business and an impact.
It can, and like you said, diversifying our education, our public education system, it begins right there so that everybody fits in where they can get in where they fit in.
And also reform, right? I mean, prison reform, the conditions at the prisons are deplorable. No matter what the crime is, the sentence should not be, the sentence has to be reformed. They can be incarcerated, but they have to be a reform mechanism because they're going to end up back in society one day. The sentence should never be torture. And some of the conditions up there amounts to torture. So what ends up happening is when these guys, and if they did a hard crime and they got to be there for life, that's fine. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to make it easy for bad people in society. But there are people that find themselves on another part of the law, which they're going to be back in society in very short order, but they have no rehabilitation whatsoever. That leads to reoffending. And again, that's a part of education. What programs, robust programs, not just any old program that exists from King Hatchet was a hammer. What robust programs and intentional programs are we putting in the prison, in the school system and all that to make sure that these guys don't fall victim to crime?
You have a whole lot on your mind and ideas about a whole lot and things that are key to this nation, especially right now. So listen, at the risk of being called into the office tomorrow, I have to go back here and I have to ask you this. I know we addressed it, but I just gonna be plain. You're like plain, right? Here's the plain. Do you plan on running in the 2026 general election?
Listen, I don't know why you would make it just about me. I think the question is truly like, do we need more help in building a better educational system? Does the country need better health care? Does the country need better opportunities, more entrepreneurial opportunities, more infrastructure and all that? And it's not about if I'm running, it's like what does the country need? And all of us are responsibility for filling that need. So
do you plan on being a part of that answer?
Listen, if called and that's the direction the Lord has for me, I'm open to it. But also, I'm also fine doing it the way I'm doing it now too. So I guess time will tell. I think it's way early to be, I don't have the answer to that today, but it's definitely and positively not off the table.
I think we got an answer, but we'll see. I want to give you an opportunity. You've been such an inspiration just to speak to maybe if one young man in the next 30 seconds, one young man out there who feels dejected and somehow depressed about his future or how things look right now in his life, if you can speak to that person.
Well, I can tell you, we've all been there. I've been there. The system would have failed me sometimes, but don't be a victim. There's too much information out there today. Whatever you're good at, everybody has a gift and everybody's good at something, and you just put that gift to use, solve a problem that's in demand, and you will be paid handsomely as the result of that. Find a problem to solve for people with money that need it often, and it's as simple as that.
Really incredible advice for anybody listening, including this host right here. I thank you so much for hanging out with me this past hour, Sebastian. Of course, business extraordinaire, businessman extraordinaire, and so much more. And of course, trying to find out what his future would look like. I know you all wanted the answer to that question, but thank you very much for just sharing with us a whole lot of who you are. And we just tipped the iceberg, I believe. But thank you so much for hanging out this hour with me here on Beyond the Headlines.
Thanks for having me.
And thank all of you for tuning in this evening. I certainly enjoyed having you along, and I look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.